Too hot for TV.
Welcome back to episode 5 of Doctor Who, Too Hot for TV. I'm Dylan and I'm here with...
Jack.
How you doing, Jack?
I'm okay.
Yeah, good.
I'm pretending that everything's normal.
Everything's nearly normal, right?
Yeah.
You can kind of be about a metre from people now.
Yes.
And you can go into a pub and have a drink with your friends, but you've got to be distanced from everybody else.
Yeah.
And in Doctor Who world, things are getting very exciting. There is no sign of a new series because of lockdown. And so Doctor Who will probably be back about 2024. They'll probably just skip the 60th anniversary. But in news that's relevant to us, Big Finish have announced that the 10th Doctor is getting a box set with River Song. The old canon tamperers are back. And I think this is... We don't do much news, but I do think this is quite relevant to this because I actually feel that's a little gap that kind of needs to be filled. How do you feel about it?
I'm happy for it to remain unfilled, maybe like taped over. I'm happy that they're uniting the 10th Doctor and the 4th Doctor.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's more interesting. I never want to see River Song again.
You don't have to see her. You're just listening to her.
I don't want her to call. I don't want her to
You're
text.
over. Jack and River Song have split up and he wants nothing more to do with it. The only reason I feel it needs to be done is because, you know, when she shows up in Silence of the Library, you get the feeling that her and the 10th Doctor have hung around for quite a bit of time. She talks about seeing him, like, never
River Song refers to the 10th Doctor as though they have seen each other before.
Yeah.
Yes, but, I mean, what can happen? What can happen?
I mean, they'll go on some adventures that ultimately affect the Doctor's life in no way, shape or form.
Yeah, she'll say spoilers. They'll get into some kind of double entendre situation.
Yeah. If that relationship was ever consummated, it's those two, though, right?
I mean, I'd rather see River Song with Pertwee.
River Song and Pertwee. That must have happened, surely. Big Finish have done that.
Or with season 18 Tom Baker when he's really depressed.
Because she met the other Tom Baker.
Yes.
And that was absolute filth.
Yeah. Or River Song and the Curator.
Well, that could happen, so that Big Finish have brought back the Curator recently with their Stranded range, which is basically just Tom Baker playing Tom Baker. So yeah, I would like to see River Song just finally finishing off Tom Baker.
Who knows?
Who knows? Also, in a bit of personal news, I'm writing a bloody book.
Yes,
a second book, which is tied into this. I'm writing a book for Tell Us Publishing about the output of Real-Time Pictures, their drama output, and all their Mythmakers and documentary range. So I've spent most of lockdown watching interviews, hundreds of interviews with Doctor Who actors. So that'll be out sometime next year.
He is the most qualified person for the job. And by he, I mean you.
Very true, very true. So... this time round, we're looking at some Colin Baker output, some 6th Doctor output. Now, can you remember your first encounter with the 6th Doctor?
That's a policeman's question, if ever I heard one. I've got very strong early memories of the Twin Dilemma.
I'm sorry about that.
I know. And Trial of a Time Lord. I'm pretty sure I remember. No, I couldn't. I remember. I'm sure that I was still. I've got memories of I've got memories of wearing a nappy and watching Trial of a Time Lord.
Wow.
But I don't know if I've made that up. And I was a child. This isn't an adult. This isn't an adult nappy. Yeah. I can only watch it wearing a nappy because I shit myself every time it zooms in on his face.
Well, I can tell you that the Twin Dilemma was released in May 1992 on video, and that was the first Colin one. So you would have been about 1.5 then, 2 years old.
When did the trial tin?
So that came out in October 93, but I don't think we got it till 94. So that would have been just about the time that you remember being...
Do 4-year-olds wear nappies? This is what I'm actually asking. Is that should I have still been wearing a nappy at 4?
Absolutely not.
Ugh, never mind.
Well, do you know, I can tell you exactly the first time I ever saw a 6th Doctor story. And it was on Sunday the 6th of October at 1:30 in the Learfrick Hotel in Coventry at Panopticon 1991, where they played Attack of the Cybermen. And I sat in that room for an hour or so watching the first episode before I had to bugger off to a panel. Yeah. That was the first time I saw Colin. And of course, it was the first time that I met Colin Baker.
Yeah.
And at the convention, he had to leave really quickly, so couldn't finish his autograph session. So he went you remember the spiral staircase that everybody would queue on? Many years of our childhood wasted on that staircase. He went up the staircase and just quickly signed a photo for everybody, which is a top guy, Colin Baker.
But he's a very, very nice man. I have a feeling that when people die, the afterlife is just that staircase in the Limerick Hotel, and you just queue forever, but with really nice conversations with strange middle-aged men
about how much you enjoyed Time Lash or not.
Yeah, everyone holding a plastic carrier bag, like a Forbidden Planet bag,
full of photos and video covers, because they couldn't bring their full videos there because they were too heavy. And what do you think of Colin's portrayal of the Doctor on TV?
I think he's pretty good. I remember liking him as a kid. I haven't watched that much of him in hindsight. I think what most people feel is that he was a good Doctor, just lumbered with the worst costume that you could have as a leading man.
But the costume has undergone a bit of a renaissance in fan eyes now, and people seem to like it a lot more. I think the issue, and this is my issue with the 80s in general, is Eric Saward and John Nathan Turner. But I think it's the combination of the two of them that kind of have a toxic output that doesn't always work. And also, there's a very problematic thing with the Sixth Doctor and Perry's relationship, in that it's very abusive. Not just in Twin Dilemma. I mean, mainly there, where he strangles her and then doesn't apologise. Which you should, if you strangle someone, you should always apologise.
But I didn't like I didn't like that as like a teenager. But as a child watching it, it was just like, yeah, it is what it is. I kind of took it for what it was, which was the Doctor going mad. Yeah. Even though he shouldn't be strangling his companions.
He shouldn't. And it still remains a bit abusive. I think the trial season I prefer as Colin's Doctor there. Like, he's definitely mellowed, and it's just a lot more chilled, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And he seems to have a great time with both Perry and the Mysterious Planet and Mel in Terror of the Vervoids. Obviously, no one has a good time in Mind Warp. But I think he's great. He is let down by a lot of iffy scripts. You know, it's the only era of the show that can make a multi-Doctor story too long, too dull, and just uninteresting. Yeah. And what do you think of him at Big Finish?
I much prefer him in Big Finish. My favourite Colin Baker stories. I don't have a favourite Colin Baker story. There's none of them that I love. But his first few, you can't really call them seasons, but his stories with Evelyn, when Big Finish first started out, were some of my favourites. And I can remember thinking, it's almost like a different character. Yeah. But I thought it was great. That at the time, that was current Doctor Who, and I liked it.
I like that whole sort of era leading up to, I guess, is it Arrangements for War? Is the last one, or is it Death in the Family?
Death in the Family, but that's
Sylvester McCoy.
But that's Evelyn's last story.
Yeah, and it's a great little arc, and I just, I look back quite fondly on that era as well. I mean, it's that first one, the Marion Conspiracy. Yeah, and I think there'd been one Colin Baker play before, which was all right, and then all of a sudden that landed, and everybody was like, Colin Baker's a really good Doctor. He's really good. And did you hear that story? And he had a speech and it was really good. And all of a sudden, everybody's attitude towards Colin Baker changed.
Yeah, they were great. Like, there were things like Doctor Who and the Pirates, the musical episode. And it was just, it's like, what if you took Colin Baker and put him in stories that had a bit of joy in them and cared about the characters? As in the writer cared about the characters.
I completely agree. So today we are starting with Slipback, the Doctor Who radio play. So just give you a little breakdown of what was going on at the time from my extensive research of looking at some old Doctor Who magazines. Episode 1 of the Reign of Terror had just been returned to the archive. News that Richard Franklin had a fan club going by the slightly unusual name of Franklin's Bow Wows. I hate to think what happened in that fan club.
Why is the first thing I think of yew tree? Just the word yew tree.
So he put on this fan club, probably run by him, put on a special event for members of the fan club, which was £15 to go to, which was quite a lot of money in the early 80s.
That was £1,000 in the 80s.
It was £10,000. And it was on a boat, so you can't escape. And you got an interview and a dinner with Richard Franklin, and there was a band playing, and it all sounds very romantic.
All power corrupts. And in some cases, a minute bit of power is still too much.
There wasn't an awful lot of news. Around the 80s, like Gallifrey Guardian doesn't really deliver the great big headlines you want it to. But and this was during the hiatus period as well. But there was a new feature called Did You Know in one of them. Did you know, Jack? The rat eaten by Shockeye in The Two Doctors. The rat itself was a real one, stuffed with plums implanted in its neck so that actor John Stratton could chew realistically on the creature's neck.
Bullshit.
I mean, maybe it was a stuffed rat, but it's not like they just killed a rat, gouged out part of its neck and put a plum in there. But that'll be safe for you to eat.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, like a taxidermied rat with the plum stuffing.
Also, just make a fake one. And add some plums. But at the same time, Doctor Who does have a history of doing bad rats.
Yes. And also just the 80s was so nihilistic. Maybe the prop department, there was strikes, there was unemployment. They were just like, fuck it, give him a rat.
Just give him a rat and a plum. He'll make it up himself.
Put a syringe in there as well.
So, Slipback by Eric Saward was originally called The Doomsday Project, and it was changed as the BBC Schools had a programme with a similar title. The last episode of Doctor Who broadcast was Revelation of the Daleks Part 2, which was in March 1985. The next episode would be Trial of a Time Lord Part 1 in September 86. This was recorded in June 1985 in Studio B11 at Broadcasting House, in case you were wondering. And the story was broadcast as part of the BBC 4, the radio station, not the channel, because that didn't exist. BBC 4's Thursday morning magazine programme called Pirate Radio 4, beginning on the 25th of July and finishing on the 8th of August 1985. And it was broadcast at around 10 a.m. in the morning, which I guess is the earliest time Doctor Who's ever been broadcast.
Yeah, I can see kids having their, 80s Rice Krispies and listening to this.
Well, no, it was an educational programme.
Yeah.
So it was the sort of thing, when the teacher couldn't be asked to teach and they put on a video.
Yeah.
Well, I guess this was pre-video recorders. I mean, being readily available. So they just put on the radio.
And there was nothing more educational than Slipback.
It is very educational.
It is David Attenborough for children.
Too hot for TV.
The Doctor hears a voice in his dreams that warns of danger to the fabric of time. The TARDIS is pulled out of the vortex due to experiments happening on board a ship called the Vipod Moor. As the Doctor and Perry investigate, they are chased by a maston and are separated. The Doctor learns that a maintenance error has left the ship's computer with two personalities, while Perry standardly wanders around some corridors and eventually gets captured. The computer's inner voice has realised that there have been too many wars and plans to travel back in time to nurture creation to make a better universe. The Doctor is about to stop the computer when a Time Lord voice appears out of nowhere and tells the Doctor to stop, as this event is supposed to happen, as the computer will send the ship back to the Big Bang and become the cause of it. The computer's other voice activates the ship's self-destruct mechanism to stop the inner voice, and the Big Bang happens and history is safe. So, that was Slipback. just before we get into the deep levels that we're going to travel to on Slipback, what do you think of Eric Saward's writing in general?
I like stories that he oversaw as a script editor. So I like things like The Caves of Androzani. I'll be honest, the most lauded Eric Saward script that I was aware of as a kid was Revelation of the Daleks.
Yeah.
And everybody that was older than me, aka you and a few other people, and Doctor Who magazine, the people that were writing that would say Revelation of the Daleks is the best Colin Baker Doctor Who story. It's just great. And I always thought it was just horrible.
Do you know that thinking in fandom has changed? Do you know what people generally think of the best Colin Baker story now?
No.
Mark of the Rani.
Yeah, I can see that because it's the most it's the one that could be told for another Doctor.
He obviously did Earthshock, which
Earthshock is
a great script. He did The Visitation, which is all right. He did Resurrection of the Daleks, which as a kid you love because it's just Daleks and murders and things like that.
Yeah.
But Revelation of the Daleks is a I think it's an uncomfortable watch for many reasons.
Yeah.
Not least of the fact that woman whose name
Tassan Beaker,
and also Alexei Sale, who does a terrible, terrible performance.
Yeah. The overriding feeling that I get from Eric Saward is just a kind of like a, ooh. Like he's an adventure show.
Yeah.
And it's his attitude is just everybody dies painfully.
But his
So before Stephen Moffat, it was everybody lives, but with Eric Saward, it's everybody dies horribly.
I think he takes a very 80s approach, which is this was all being made in the era of the video nasty. So these are kind of video nasties for kids.
Yeah.
Video nasty lights. Now, whether that's an appropriate direction for Doctor Who is another thing. But...
I mean, yeah, Genesis of the Daleks is a video nasty. You know, it's getting people getting gunned down by Nazis. But yeah, it feels, I guess, because the Colin Baker is a more abrasive Doctor. You definitely like Peter Davison. He has stories. Everybody dies. It's horrible, but there's a likability and an innocence to his Doctor. And then Colin Baker comes along, and there's a real brashness, and you're worried if Perry's going to get punched in the face by the Doctor. And then all of the guest cast are dying. Yeah. It feels really sour.
Yeah. No, I would agree. So that kind of brings us to Slipback.
Yeah.
What do you think of Eric Saward's writing here?
Well, it's still a Saward script in that I think it's got a really cynical heart to it, but it's marred with this kind of Douglas Adams frivolity and a good sense of humour to it, but the underlying core is nihilistic.
So this is exactly what I thought, and some of the notes I've got is that it's very, very Hitchhikers. It's like it could be set on the Vogon ship, like a different Vogon ship, just a bit further down. There's even a scene where the Doctor uses a poem to stop a monster, which is like the Vogon poetry. Yeah. Then the computer is just like the computer in Zaphod Beetlebrox's ship.
Yes. But for a minute, when I was listening to this, I thought they'd actually got, what's her name, who played Trillian?
Sandra Dickinson.
Yeah, I thought it was Sandra Dickinson doing the voice.
I had to check. So Hitchhikers had been broadcast, the TV series, some 4 years earlier. And so what I wonder, and I did a bit of research, is this the Doctor Who that Eric Saward would have liked to make if JNT wasn't a part of it? And actually, it turns out that the radio team were given free rein to do what they wanted, because JNT had no radio background, so he was like, I can't really tell you what to do on this, which seems very weird. But that explains a lot, because JNT's hypersensitive about jokes. Yeah. And so this is that Doctor Who that you were getting at the time, but funnier.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember reading an interview with Eric Saward in Doctor Who magazine where he did say that this was him just... He had really good memories about it because he was just utterly free to do what he wanted to do. And I think he did specifically say, this is me doing a Douglas Adams story.
Yeah, and I mean, he's not quite as... how can I say it?
Interesting.
He's not quite as interesting as Douglas Adams, because it's not him trying to channel Douglas Adams. It's him ripping off Douglas Adams. Yeah. Like, all of it. Having said that, I did enjoy it.
I enjoyed it, and I also thought that if I was a child, I would absolutely love it.
Yeah, I think that's true, and even though there's things that don't make sense, like the captain who cultivates diseases is a plot line that seems ultimately pointless.
Okay, I'm not proud of this, but I read the novelisation of this before I heard this. So when I was a teenager, I read the novelisation.
You pervert.
And the point is, it relates to the ending. There's a plot point that ultimately the story ends with the ship is going to go back to the creation of the universe, and it's part of fixed events. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that in the novelisation it expanded to say that the spores that the captain is infected with are going to affect organic life.
Okay,
I think it's related to that.
That didn't register. It just went over my head because it's such a layered script.
No, it wasn't in the audio.
The novelisation that Eric Saward did in 1986 is the first Target book not based on a Doctor Who story from TV, but also it's notable for not featuring the Doctor and Perry in its first 50 pages. It instead expands upon the other characters' backgrounds, which is classic Saward.
Classic Eric.
He's always more interested in writing for anybody else apart from the Doctor and the Doctor's companion. There's loads of other interesting elements. The Doctor's hungover.
I know. It wakes up with the Doctor hungover from getting drunk.
Which I think, if I had to have my money on any Doctor being a piss artist, it would be the one that strangles his companion. You can just say like, oh, it's so lovely to hang around with you, Doctor. Just don't have a drink. Oh, okay, just the one drink. And then he's had 10 pints later and he's strangling poor Perry.
Barely touched you.
And, you know, in typical Saward fashion, Perry's once again the object of the bad guy's desires, even though he only really sees her on a screen. He sort of does that whole Syl thing. Perry says an amazing line. It says the TARDIS wheezes and groans like a dirty old man. I'll take that. You don't get those sort of references in Doctor Who very often. Eric Saward's other big influence when it comes in Doctor Who is Robert Holmes. And the relationship between the duo of the guards is very kind of Holmesian.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing of the computer wanting to nurture creation to make the universe better. It isn't new, but I think it's done okay. It's a little bit terminus, but not as grim.
But if you were the script editor that oversaw Terminus, surely you'd realise, like, you don't repeat it. Like, he would have helped to put Terminus together, and he just uses the ending again. I think that's really sloppy.
It's all recycled. It's absolutely all of it. How do you think it compares with the Doctor Who that was on TV that surrounded it? So seasons 22 and 23.
It doesn't feel as kind of intense and violent. I don't know. I'm trying to imagine if this was a TV story, how people would think about it. But it's mainly the ending is so bad.
Yeah.
And it's that thing of like the mastodon, the monster that's put in there. You can tell there's no real point for it to be there. It's just they need an excuse for a monster. And you can tell it would have been awful if it was a TV show. It would have been an absolutely dreadful
fag end of a season.
Yes.
Murker sort of a monster.
Well, the thing that I liked about it the most is that it's 10-minute episodes. So it's an hour long. Every 10 minutes there's a cliffhanger and there's the theme tune.
Yeah.
And I mean, as a kid, it's all about the cliffhangers.
Yeah.
So put 5 of them in one story in an hour. It's just like, fucking fire it up.
It was directed and produced by a man called Paul Spencer, who's a writer and light entertainment producer. It feels like radio of the time. Like the monster sound effect sounds like a library thing. It's library feet walking down corridors. So it sounds a little lackluster compared to we're kind of spoilt with Big Finish's kind of like well sound designed releases, but also it was the 80s. And I know you said you liked the cliffhangers, but there's far too many episodes of this that end with Colin Baker going, no!
I know, I just like the 80s theme tune.
Yeah, I mean, don't we all? I mean, it's got the best. I think it's got the best sort of crash howl thing, whatever they call it. Into like it just when that squeals in.
Yeah, the Peter howl.
The Peter howl, if you will. You just think, fucking hell, they're in the shit now.
Yeah.
What do you think about Colin and Nicola in this particular story?
They come across exactly how they do on TV, but maybe Colin Baker feels a little bit lighter and a bit. You know, like he's lost weight, even though he would have been putting it on.
Yeah, he had a year off, fully paid. He was like had Tony Selby's pudding eating competition to beat.
It was odd because also I'm used to hearing Colin Baker now in Big Finish, and so suddenly it's like, oh wow, this is when his voice was a much higher pitch because he's a younger man, and it's like, oh wow, this is Big Finish in the 80s.
I think that it is more fun for them, and I think that's back to what we were saying about no JNT. So the jokes are there to kind of alleviate things. Whether the jokes always land is another thing.
Yeah, and you're not worried about if you're going to get kicked out of a BBC studio at 7 o'clock or whenever it was.
Someone was going to turn the lights off. There's a cast of about 8 people. I'll just go through a couple of the big ones. The computer is played by Jane Carr. Do you know who she is?
No.
Well, no, me neither, but she's had the most ridiculous career.
Did she invent the car?
She did. She has been in Upstairs, Downstairs, Ellen, Mad About You, Babylon 5, Sabrina, Beverly Hills, Clueless, Austin Powers, Enterprise, Family Guy, Postman Pat, and most recently Legends of Tomorrow. That's quite the career.
So I will have seen her in Sabrina.
Yeah.
And Austin Powers.
Yeah. You will have seen her in many things. Grant is played by John Glover, who had a huge career on British TV, but also went on to appear in the Sarah Jane Adventures and did lots and lots of Big Finish. But obviously, the captain is played by Valentine Dial, who played the Black Guardian.
Is it Dial or Dial?
Dial, it's played by the guy who played the Black Guardian.
Yeah, and also the voice of Deep.
Deep Roy.
I want to say Deep Thought.
Deep Thought.
All I wanted to say was Deep Throat, but no, the computer Deep Thought in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Is it really? I never realised that.
Yeah. So again, it's more of a Douglas Adams crossover.
Well, fuck my face. And this was the last thing he did. He died 14 days after recording it.
Yeah. Do you think this was the cause of death?
Quite possibly. His career died 14 days before he did. I think his performance is subtly gruesome, you know. It's exactly the sort of thing you would expect in Hitchhikers. And it's the sort of thing you would have expected in 70s Doctor Who. Is there anything else you wanted to say about Slipback?
It's very nihilistic, the way that the computer looks at all of human history and thinks it's just horrible, so wants to restart it all. And that is the origin of the universe. So Eric Saward's creation myth is a computer thinking everything is awful and going back to fix it, but fails. And
it's also a metaphor for Eric Saward's career.
I mean, that's the kind of joyous heart that you want in a family adventure storytelling show.
I completely agree. So,
Eric,
to summarise, is it fan wank or damn swank? Or now I've realised that this fan swank. That's another word.
Swank down.
Yeah, I've realised that doesn't always work.
No, because what if it's not fan wank, but it's not good?
So I'm going to ask you this: is it a clanger or a banger?
It's a clanger.
It is a clanger. It's a fun clanger, but it's a clanger.
Too hot for TV.
The next thing we're looking at is the comic strip Voyager. Now, this was printed in Doctor Who magazine over 5 parts. It was released between seasons 21 and 22. So the only Colin Baker people had seen was the twin dilemma at that point, and that's not an awful lot to go on. In terms of news, Inferno had been found in full colour. Hurrah. It was announced that a lady called Paula Moore was going to be writing a Doctor Who story called Attack of the Cybermen, and she obviously went on to be the most successful Doctor Who writer of all time. Do you remember her?
The Forgotten Women of Doctor Who.
That's a documentary that we need to do. A second Doctor Who story was due for release on Betamax, the ultimate format for Doctor Who, but nobody knew what it was, which is very exciting. And in more Richard Franklin news, do you know what Recall Unit, the Great Teabag Mystery is?
No.
It was a play performed at the Edinburgh Fringe, starring Nick Courtney, John Levine and Richard Franklin, all reprising their roles from the TV series. I can only imagine it was terrible. But there must be a video. Someone's got to have a copy of that somewhere.
I think it's crying out for a remake.
A box set.
A Big Finish box set.
And fantastic news as well. Joy Gammon's The Doctor Who pattern book was being reprinted, and there were huge sighs of relief from Doctor Who fandom because some say it was more sought after than the season 12 Blu-ray sets.
Joy Gammon?
Joy Gammon. Doesn't sound like a real name, does it?
No. I think it's a club night in Soho.
Joy Gammon sounds like perhaps she was a Northern Soul DJ working alongside Ian Levine.
Or even a political slur.
So, why don't you run us through the plot of Voyager?
The Doctor and Frobisher discover the frozen remains of an ancient sea ship that the Doctor has previously dreamt of. In the wreckage, they discover a series of star charts, but an elderly man arrives and steals them from the Doctor. They track down the star charts to a lighthouse where the Doctor discovers the man is in fact a Time Lord named Astrolabus. The star charts contain ancient knowledge and power that a mythical figure known as Voyager wishes to possess and wreak destruction. Astrolabus flees in his TARDIS, and Voyager finally arrives to instruct the Doctor to retrieve his star charts, or the universe itself will suffer. This is the hardest story to write a synopsis for.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane.
It's both complicated and simple, because all the plot is explained in little boxes at the intro of each episode.
Yeah.
Like, so you find out this stuff like, oh, it's an alternative dimension, but you get that in the recap.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. So most of the plot happens in the first box of the comic.
Right.
And then the rest of it's all kind of imagery and dialogue. Very good imagery and dialogue, but very little of it pushes the plot forward.
It's full of loads of mythical references and loads of just random allusions and images. That it is a lot like a dream. I mean, it's unusual that we've picked 2 Colin Baker stories that both open with him dreaming.
Yeah, I noticed that. And that was completely coincidental, because we'd not heard Slipback. And had you ever read Voyager before?
No.
See, I have a feeling it was in like a Doctor Who magazine. They did like a special reprint. I don't know if it was in America, and it had Frobish's first story in this. Although I remember nothing about this. Yeah. I just think it was in there.
Yeah.
I've not quite read a Doctor Who comic like it before.
No. It's utterly insane. Yeah. And it's good. I was really impressed.
I think it's style over substance. I think if you think about it too much, it falls apart.
Hence me trying to write a synopsis for it, because it's just the thing is that it's essentially the writer and the artist playing with language and just putting loads of things together. And the basic premise is just they find some maps, an old man steals them, and then he runs off with them again. And there's some kind of a dark figure that wants them. Yeah. That is the story.
It feels almost like they've come up with an idea for a comic that you could do almost anywhere, but they've decided they're going to use it in the Doctor Who strip, and actually the Doctor's involvement in it is tagged on. I know it's Time Lords and stuff, but it could have been anything. You could put it in a Spider-Man strip, or you could put it in a bloody Batman strip or whatever, and you'd still get the same impact. What it does do brilliantly, I think, is it shows the Doctor scared, which you don't see a lot. Like, I know they do it in the new series sometimes, but I think that's possibly pulling a little bit from the Twin Dilemma, the only thing they had to go to, where you do see the Doctor kind of almost cowardly in his post-regenerative trauma a little bit. Every now and then he gets a bit scared when he's not being, when he thinks his regeneration is failing.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's the elements of the Doctor they get right more. As for his general character, I think it's quite a generic version of the Doctor.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what Colin Baker's going to be like. I have to say this. Colin's likeness is shit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was shocked. I think the art's beautiful, but I don't think it looks like Colin Baker.
I didn't really clock that. I mean, I would say that it's written by Steve Parkhouse.
Yeah.
And
who we've covered some of his work before.
So we covered his work on the last 5th Doctor episode.
Yeah.
And the artist is John Ridgeway, who we covered in the 7th Doctor first story we ever covered, the Ice Warrior story. This is quite similar to another 5th Doctor story, a comic strip written by Steve Parkhouse called The Stockbridge Horror, where the Doctor is alone, haunted by a really mysterious dark figure. Yeah. And it's the 5th Doctor alone and vulnerable and scared in his TARDIS being chased by this kind of phantom figure. So it's quite close to that.
I think that these comic strips, from what we're seeing from 80s comics, I think they're doing Doctor Who, if not better, certainly bigger than the TV Doctor Who does. Like, they give the characters real breadth of emotion, and they actually put them through the ringer a little bit, whereas there doesn't seem to be any kind of reaction, any responsibility almost, or any consequence for anything that happens in the TV stories. Like, the most significant things that happen in the 80s is Adric's death, and that's dismissed within an episode.
Yeah, because Nyssa and Tegan love Victorian inventions. When I was Googling this story, the thing that I came across, which I wasn't aware of, is that in the 6th Doctor comic strips, it was the first time that a TV companion appeared in the comic strip. So Perry does turn up eventually in the 6th Doctor comic strips. But the whole reason is, I think, because you have to obtain image rights for the actor and actress playing the Doctor and companion.
Don't need that from a penguin.
And you don't need that from a penguin. And also it might explain why they always created their own fictional comic strip companions.
I guess that's a way, like, that's showing sort of the change in times, that now the companions are seen as an equal to the Doctor, and they're the stars of the show as well. Yeah. Whereas back then, who's to be the new Doctor Who girl, as it was often listed, was it was very much the sidekick role. And they obviously thought, well, the thing that's going to sell the comics is having the Doctor.
Yeah, I guess it was the Tom Baker show for his tenure in the comic strips.
Yeah.
And then it kind of carried on over into Peter Davison. People always forget that the first Black Companion was in the Fourth Doctor comic strips.
Oh yeah.
Sharon
Wow.
the companion. I feel like mentioning it just because we played the Doctor Who quiz the other day, and
The
you
quiz
did
of Rassilon.
and you did a round for that.
I did on Earthshock. Jack did the PowerPoint presentation because I am computer illiterate when it comes to designing things.
And Black TARDIS did a round for that, and obviously they're all related to the TV show.
Mm.
I wonder if the woman that did the Black TARDIS round knows about Sharon.
Was aware. I don't know. I think it is something that you'd probably overlook because she's relatively new to Doctor Who. Obviously, we had the whole of the 90s where there was no new Doctor Who to consume everything surrounding it. But now, coming to Doctor Who, I don't know, say she's been a fan for 10, 15 years, whatever. It must be so difficult for somebody to even try, especially with all the Big Finish, to try and consume. You've got all of the books from the 90s. You've got all of the comics. Doctor Who magazine's been running 40-odd years. You've got the whole TV show, Big Finish. It's like, how do you consume all this stuff? And I think coming new to it, you probably wouldn't. So I'm going to jump forward. We've got a special episode coming up with a guy called Sam Molesky on, which I'll tell everybody more about at the end of this. He is a new Doctor Who fan and got into it through the Matt Smith era. He's not seen all of the classic series, but he has listened to all of Big Finish.
Wow.
Which I think is an impressive feat, because you can't consume everything nowadays.
Doctor Who is a choose your own adventure of a show.
Choose your own canon.
Yeah, so you can go through it and never see all of it and have a completely different route through it compared to other people. There are people out there that have never seen Dimensions in Time. All the Pertwee Years tape.
Those people are not true fans. I don't care if you haven't seen all of Doctor Who, but if you haven't seen Dimensions in Time, you're not a true fan.
If you don't have a Tom Baker Dapple toy without the scar, then sorry, not talking to you.
I think it was a podcast or a magazine, and there was somebody in there who'd grown up in somewhere like India, like in a sort of expat community, or let's call it what it is, an immigrant community. And as a child, their local school library had Doctor Who target books, and they used to read them. And when the new series was announced, they were like, oh, they're making a TV series of my favourite series of books.
Whoa. You don't get this with Blake Seven.
No.
And I love Blake Seven.
Yeah.
But that's just, 4 seasons gone.
We've meandered a little. We were talking about Voyager. So it's also the second comic to feature Frobisher, is that right?
Yes, yeah.
I really like Frobisher. Not Colin. It's not Colin Baker, is it?
It's a drawing.
It's a drawing of Colin Baker. The Doctor's a bit of a twat to Frobisher. He calls him a half-witted, half-pint tub of blubber, which is a bit rich coming from Colin Baker.
It is, but I can imagine the Sixth Doctor saying that.
Yeah, I can as well. And Frobisher has a couple of great lines, including the following dialogue. Do you know, I once spent 14 years as a till on a checkout counter in a supermarket in Walthamstow. I did it for love, but she thought I was only in it for the money.
I honestly applauded when I read that.
Yeah.
I thought it was so funny. And it's so, it's a proper joke, but properly drawn and paced in a comic strip. It's just brilliant. The writer and the artist are two very talented people on the British comic scene of the time. They're in charge of doing the Doctor Who strip. So they're obviously just putting everything that they want to in there in terms of be as funny as we can and be as weird as we can and not really care about the premise of the show.
Yeah, and I think the comic strips are better off for that. I also love it whenever Doctor Who mentions a real world place that's a normal place, which doesn't happen as much in the old series. It's like when Ace mentions Perivale, and like, Perivale's on a tube map, and they mention Walthamstow, which is just up the road from where we live. I
know. I mean, as a kid, because we grew up in Birmingham, whenever I'd have to get the National Express into London, you'd pass through Perivale, and I'd just be like, that's where Doctor Who's set. Stop the bus.
Stop the bus, I need to get off here. Bad cat man.
So, trying to write down the actual premise of who is Voyager, who is Astrolabus, and what are the star charts. The star charts in question detail places of hidden power that are located across the globe. And
that is a very Marvel Comics thing.
I think it's more than Marvel Comics. I think it's a very David Icke thing. But the general description of because it's set in, there's a flashback to Alexandria in ancient Egypt, and aliens visit ancient Egypt, and they're trying to seek this map that contains places of hidden power across the world.
Yeah.
How much of Doctor Who lore does fit in with David Icke's conspiracy theories?
Are we saying that David Icke may be the secret showrunner of Doctor Who of all time?
I think he's like Terrance Dicks's bastard brother.
It's a well-known fact that one of David Icke's more outrageous theories is that people's fat turns into little aliens that are also really cute with one fang.
And he believes in lizard people that live under the earth.
Fuck, David Icke's right. Or he's wrong, but he's providing Doctor Who writers with many, many a story.
He looks like a Doctor Who writer. You can see him popping up on a DVD extra talking about how they said they wanted the Master in it on Tuesday and the deadline was Thursday, so I just put it in and the royal family are evil.
Yeah, I can totally go with that. It's a really beautiful comic. It uses all sorts of, like you say, it uses history. Like Astrolabus, he flies off in Da
Vinci's flying machine.
Da Vinci's flying machine, which is just brilliant. After you've seen this huge ship crash, and then you've seen this frozen ship, and the Doctor gets tied up and overpowered, and then just to see him fly off into the night sky, but it doesn't look like the night sky. It looks like he's actually flying off into space in this thing.
Yeah.
And then when the Doctor finally catches up with him, there is what you think is a very Doctor-like moment where the Doctor picks up his gun, and points it at Astroba. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Doctor's like, "I was never going to shoot," which is very Doctorish. But then it turns out the Doctor gets shot, and it's one of those sticky arrow things. It's just a toy gun, and then he uses his gun, and just a bang comes out. It's the sort of things that happen in it are the sort of things the Celestial Toymaker should be doing instead of playing basically landmine hopscotch.
Yes, I know what you mean. But they're also things that play with the conventions of comic strips. So guns that just have a flag that say bang.
Yeah.
Some really good things where like, the Doctor thinks that he's hanging off a lighthouse, and then it turns out he's just hanging off the edge of a desk.
Yeah.
Like, it's so... Whether this was a TV show or a comic strip, it's just such a good idea.
Oh, this would have been terrible if it was a TV show, because they wouldn't have been able to achieve it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it would have been the horror of Fang Rock, which admittedly looked quite good, but done in the 1980s overlit studio. So it would have looked somewhere between Fang Rock and Time Lash. And nobody wants that sort of thing in their life. So, do these maps return?
I am aware that they are recurring characters scattered throughout Sixth Doctor comic strips, but what we read was a story, and then it was going to keep coming. Elements of it would come back in future strips, but I haven't read them, and I don't think you have either.
No, but I'm sure we'll touch on some of them at another point. Voyager, does Voyager come back?
I don't know. I mean, that's the odd thing as well, is that he's called Voyager. We don't see him do anything except appear as a face. No. And then at one point he's referred to as Death.
Yeah.
But we don't see a single thing that he does. I'll be honest, they did a really similar thing with the character of Rassilon in the Fifth Doctor strips. Rassilon kept appearing as this kind of godlike figure that would just appear as a big head. And they kind of do the same thing with Voyager here. It's meant to be a godlike figure, but you don't know whether it's evil or good or whatever. Yeah. It's a mystery for the sake of mystery, which is perfectly fine.
He looks a bit like a Time Lord, though, doesn't he? He's got a big collar and...
Yeah, well, this is the thing, is that they put in loads of things in there, like sailing ships like Enlightenment that just sail through space, and they're passing like moons with giant faces, like old silent films.
Yeah.
They've got actual Greek winds where the clouds turn into faces. And it's that thing of just, well, we'll say it's the Time Lords. And then that kind of puts everything in perspective, and you go, well, there must be some. This is when all of those myths about like the old time and Gallifrey and these began to. They're probably ideas that begin in comic strips in general that are happening at the time, and then they seep into the TV show. So eventually, by Andrew Cartmel, they're putting in this same kind of lore into it as well, which is basically the past is unknowable and strange and mysterious.
Yeah.
And as much, we can introduce an alien race like the Time Lords, but really they're so godlike that they're just part of Greek mythology or something like that. And you can excuse them within science fiction by just chucking in a few words here and there.
I think the mythos of the Time Lords in this is it treats them as godlike things, which I guess. It's almost like in Death Comes to Time, they're reinvented as the gods of the Fourth, and I think the new series makes them slightly more godlike, certainly in Tennant's era. When we get to the 12th Doctor's era, they're a bit less godlike and more bureaucratic. But it's weird that this is going on and treating the Time Lords as this huge sort of godlike lore, when on TV they basically turned into squabbling people who had beige yellow couches.
Yeah. So when this was released, the last time they would have been seen would have been the Five Doctors.
Yeah, Arc of Infinity, then Five Doctors. And
they're
Arc of
rubbish.
Infinity is the worst representation of the Time Lords ever. Gallifrey in both of those stories looks like the lounge of a 1980s advertising company. And they are just bickering old actors whose glory days on TV and film was in the 50s and 60s.
Well, if you watch Arc of Infinity on Sky TV, it has a warning beforehand saying this show contains outdated depictions of the Time Lords.
That's very true.
That some fans may find offensive and gaudy.
Now, we've said a lot of good things about this.
Yeah.
But the greatest thing to happen in this is that because the Sixth Doctor doesn't have a sonic screwdriver, he has a vibrator pick lock. Surely it should be a vibrating lock pick, but no, it's a vibrator pick lock.
Yeah, you finger the lock till it opens.
Which I just thought was very amusing.
That's how they did it in the 80s.
If it was good enough for Colin Baker, it was good enough for me. Anything else you want to say on this particular comic strip?
It's one of the most unusual and mysterious bits of Doctor Who that I've come across in a long time.
Yeah, I completely agree. It is unique, I think. And even if you say like the ideas are somehow recycled, they're recycled but done better. It's like when Moffat kind of learns from his mistakes and he puts an element into a story and it doesn't quite work. And then he uses it again in a season's time and you're like, oh, he's really nailed that.
The last story that I saw in the same kind of genre to this was probably Heaven Sent.
Yeah, I think this...
Heaven Sent is a big mythological story that is essentially a fantasy with the underlying premise that, oh, it's the Time Lords.
Yeah.
So that excuses all of the sheer just fantasy and myth of it.
Yeah, I think so. I also want to start the campaign here. Let's fucking bring back Frobisher. If Big Finish aren't going to do it, let's get him in the TV series.
Yeah.
I think he is an amazing companion. I think he's funny as fuck. He's funny in the Big Finish. He's something like 2 Big Finishes, isn't it?
Yeah, I think if you're a Frobisher fan, let's refer to ourselves as the Fro Bros.
Yeah, hashtag Fro Bros.
And you can just be Whiffadill.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that comic strip. It was pretty unique.
Yeah.
And let's get Frobisher back.
Yes.
So, I think that about wraps it up.
Yeah, damn swank.
Damn swank, or is it a clanger or a banger?
It's a banging, damn swanking...
Fan wanking, shanking.
Whiffadillin.
It's Whiffer Brill. Oh, I'm just going to go outside and throw up. Yeah, no, I think it's an absolute banger. I think it's damn swank. I'm all over it. So, we'll be back in a month's time. In 2 weeks' time, we've got author of Sheffield Steel and Black Archives writer Sam Molesky here to talk to me about his top 5 underrated Big Finish. I gave him the whole of Big Finish, as in all the Doctor Who ranges to pick from, and he's picked some really interesting gems. I listened to them all over the last few weeks. It should be really, really interesting for people who want to dip into some of the lesser-known Big Finishes. Have you got a Big Finish you can think of, just off the top of your head, that people don't talk about enough?
Lou Garou.
Lou Garou, yeah. No, who was also a French waiter.
And a 90s hip-hop artist. No, the Fifth Doctor werewolf story with Turlough's first Big Finish.
Yeah, I actually revisited that, I would say, in the last few years. And it's really good.
Yeah, it's Mark Platt.
If I had one, actually, just while I'm here, it would be Tomb Ship. I can't remember who wrote it, and I think it was out in about 2012, 2013. But I remember listening, it's a Fifth Doctor story, and I remember listening to it and thinking, wow, this is... Although it's something that you've seen before in sci-fi, I was like, this feels really fresh for the Fifth Doctor. Next time, we're doing the Eighth Doctor.
Yes.
The comic we're going to do, it's a biggie. It's The Flood.
Yeah.
Which was the final Eighth Doctor comic strip in Doctor Who magazine before the new series came back, and it's got Cybermen.
Yeah, it's all about Gerald Flood.
It is. It's a 20-part story about Gerald Flood. And what audio did we decide on?
We're going to do The Faith Stealer.
Yes.
Which is a Paul McGann story from the Divergent arc of Big Finish.
With Charlie and Kerez.
And Kerez.
Yeah, well, that'll be exciting. So, until next time, I've been Dylan.
I've been Jack.
We're Doctor Who Too Hot for TV. See you next time.
Too hot for TV.